He struck me across the face in front of 200 guests, under golden chandeliers, surrounded by white flowers and vows left unfinished. The sound of his hand meeting my skin sliced through the music. The orchestra stopped mid-note. Every head turned, every whisper died. Behind him, his sister Alina's smirk was still fresh from whatever venom she had just breathed into his ear. The sting on my cheek was sharp, but the silence that followed burned even more. He wanted me to cry, to fall apart, to make a scene. Instead, I stood tall, staring straight into his eyes, calm and deliberate. Then I smiled, because he had no idea that I had already destroyed him before he even raised his hand. Daniel had once been my dream come true, the man who could make the world slow down with just a glance. We met during a thunderstorm, stranded at an airport. He offered me his umbrella, his jacket, his warmth. He spoke as if I were the only person who existed. For a while, I believed him. But 2 years into our relationship, that devotion began to fade. His phone became his companion. His late nights multiplied. Work, he said. Deadlines, he said. And Alina was always there, hovering, watching, cutting me with her perfect little insults. She called me cold, ambitious, too put together. Daniel would squeeze my hand under the table as if to promise I was safe. Promises, I learned, are only worth as much as the person keeping them. The first real sign came in photograph, a reflection caught in his office window. He was holding someone, but it wasn't me. The woman's silver ring gleamed, identical to Alina's. I didn't confront him. I didn't cry. I simply started watching. People who lie tend to talk too much, and soon he was talking endlessly, where he'd been, who he'd seen, how much he loved me. Every word was a thread I pulled, until the whole story came apart. The truth was worse than an affair. He and Alina were partners, stealing from the company I'd built long before I met him. My name was on the ownership papers, but his signature gave him access. Together, they had been siphoning funds, planned to clean me out and vanish right after the wedding. They thought I was blind. They were wrong. While I played the doting fiancé, I was already meeting with my lawyer, my accountant, and my oldest friend, the one Daniel had always disliked. We shifted the assets, sealed off the accounts, and replaced every contract they'd forged. I turned every fake document into evidence. By the time our wedding arrived, all I needed was for him to give me one public moment, a single act that would expose the truth. That slap was his gift. When his hand struck my cheek, Alina's satisfaction was almost radiant. She thought she'd won, that I'd fall apart before I could even say, I do. But she didn't know everything they owned had already been stripped away. I lifted my chin, turned to the silent room, and spoke clearly enough for everyone to hear. Before we continue, I said, there's something you should all see. The big screen behind us flickered to life. Instead of our wedding slideshow, it showed Daniel and Alina in his office, signing fake invoices, laughing as they moved money from my accounts. Each file had dates, timestamps, and signatures. Gasps rippled through the crowd. His parents stood. The investors murmured. The whispers grew into outrage. Alina stumbled back, hissing something under her breath that the microphones caught. Something that made Daniel's face drain of color. I turned to him once more, meeting his gaze. I knew, I said softly. I just wanted witnesses. Security escorted them out while the marriage license fluttered to the floor and signed. That night, I left the venue with every investor at my side. Within a day, his accounts were frozen, Alina's home searched, and every message between them laid bare. I didn't cry. I didn't scream. Revenge doesn't roar, it settles. Quiet, cold, absolute. When people asked about the slap, I tell them it wasn't the sound of pain. It was the sound of closure. Because when his hand met my face, he didn't just humiliate me. He handed me the spotlight, and I used it to end him. Now, when I trace the faint mark on my cheek, I don't feel shame. I feel strength. Because that was the moment the world saw who he truly was, and who I had become